Hi everyone, it's Tina at Phenomenal Beauty. So firstly, just in case you're wondering what is going on with this background, am I trying to impress you guys? No, I'm actually going to be having a girly day. It's very rare. I have the house to myself at the moment, hence I'm able to pretty the place up, but I've actually got a girlfriend or a friend coming over and I'm going to be doing her makeup. So I've got everything sort of set up, got the house smelling nice with the scented candles, actually able to put the proper picture up on the wall, and yes, so very girly. And I thought, since I've got my kit down here, I'm going to finally do sort of an overview slash review and sort of chat about the Real Technique brushes by Samantha Chapman. I've gone on about these brushes. They're featured in some of my favorites videos over the few years that I've been sort of dabbling with them. But I thought it's about time I actually did a video on them. What I might do though is, because I have quite a few, and you know how I like to talk, I might do sort of the larger face brushes in one video and then just split it and do maybe smaller face brushes and sort of eye brushes, the sponges and kabuki in the second video. But what I'll do is I'll put everything down below, so check the description box. Maybe there's a brush in particular you want to sort of look into. I'll put them in order that I show them and also in which video. Some of them are in sets, or I bought them in sets, and I've just sort of forgotten at this time of recording it what set they've come in, but I'll put all that information down below if you are so keen to know. But I'm sure you've heard quite a bit about these. I'm not obviously the first one to do this. I'm pretty late getting on the bandwagon doing this video, but I have enjoyed them for quite a while, as I'm sure you know. Anyway, let's get to it. So the first brush, and it's definitely one of my favorite ones in it, is the powder brush. Now as you can see, it's the largest brush pretty much in the collection. It's got that sort of orangey gold ferrule, and they all have that sort of flat sort of bottom, so you can stand them up. Some of the small ones sort of do fall over under the weight of them, but pretty much they do, or self-supporting or self-standing. It's a good weighted brush. Most of them are very sort of pleasant to sort of hold, like they're not too heavy, they're not long. They are good for travel, some of the like smaller brushes. The only sort of thing I think with them is that they are awkwardly shaped. Like a lot of them don't fit in your standard brush rolls. Like some of these I have to squeeze them in the really large sort of holes in some of the different brush rolls or brush holders, but most of them don't generally fit. I don't have too much of a problem with some of the smaller ones, and some of these don't stand up on their own. They've got like a sort of a rounded edge. But yeah, anyway, I normally travel with little sort of containers, so I don't sort of have that issue. Sorry, I'm hearing noises. I'm going, you can't be like 2 hours early. Anyway, so that's the powder brush, but all of them are synthetic, so they're good if you sort of like synthetic bristles, if you're vegan, like vegan friendly, so no animals were harmed in the making of these. But yes, as far as purchasing them, I get them all on, now I get them from iherb. I used to get a few from Priceline, but also from SA Hair, Nail and Beauty. That's just a beauty supply store that I go to in Sydney City, but I just find it so much easier and cheaper to go through iherb. But this brush, you can see it's quite big. It's very dense. I don't have anything quite like this brush. Just a beautiful big brush. I like it for setting powders, because it's sort of, you can just swirl it around and just sort of dab it on, and you're not getting a heavy concentration. If you do want, obviously you can sort of dip it in and sort of dab it around, but it's good just to sort of work all that powder around. It's great for bronzing, it's great for buffing out powder. It also has washed really well. This is the brush that I've had the longest, and it's stood up to so many washes. I spot cleanse every time I use it, or try to. I deep cleanse my brushes 1 or 2 times a week. It just really depends. Obviously the stuff that I've used on clients, I would do that night. But yeah, it's stood up. Do have a few of the edges sort of fraying, and I like to pick up a backup. But it's generally a good all-round sort of brush for, you know, definitely face powder. Mineral powder, it's dense enough for mineral powder to dispense it around the face. You can diffuse any sort of harsh lines if you're doing contouring or anything. I like that. But yeah, generally for powder. But I do find I still reach for this the most. It's my It Cosmetics by Jamie Dern. I love this. I think, where did I get this one? Was it international or PM Studio? If I remember, I'll put it down below. But It Cosmetics, I really love the price because they're pretty much similar, the prices in Australia to international. So I find it just better to get it in Australia. But they're beautiful. It's a beautiful long brush. This isn't that great to travel with because you can see it is quite big, but it's sort of the one that I switch up between. But this one, you can see it's got a lot more surface area than this one. But literally every other brush that I've got, or face powder, doesn't compare to this brush. It's just so soft, easy to wash because it's synthetic, easy to dry. Keeps its shape. The next brush I really like is the blush brush, and it's one of those tapered ones. You can see how much I love it because it's very worn. All of them have the what would you call that? I mean, it's not engraved. It's printed on there. It's sort of worn off. It's got the pink one. I'm not sure what other differences. There's pink, there's the gold, there's white, which I think are the limited edition. I'm sure there's purple. Sorry, most of the smaller eye brushes and that are purple. Anyway, beautiful, beautiful brush. Again, it's the same soft, you know, synthetic bristles. I have had a little bit of a fallout with this, and this isn't as finely sort of milled as some of my other brushes. You get the old ones that are sticking out. But for the price, it's still very good. Like I said, if I buy them on iherb, they're very well priced. You know, in comparison to what they are charging in Australia, Priceline, for example. But like I said, I bought some there to support Australia. But it's a beautiful sort of shape brush, great for sort of, you know, dispensing your blush and, you know, buffing it around. Great for bronzer, great for contouring too. You can obviously, because they're nice and soft, you can do that if you want. If you know, you don't have to have every brush. I don't have all of the brushes. I have a good few of them though. But yeah, you can just, you know, make it work for you. Contouring around, even highlighting, just dabbing on. Really just depend on the surface area of your face. I've got a lot of surface area. But yeah, beautiful little brush. It is comparable to two other ones. I used to love my Sigma F25 brush, you know, the tapered one. Over time, I've had this. It's probably one of my oldest brushes. It's sort of, you know, flayed out. This is loose. It's sort of lost its shape. It's not in a great condition as it was, but I sort of switch up between them if I need. But really, this really just sits in my tower, and then I use sort of this one for blush sort of at home. But I have honestly I keep reaching for this one. This is the Wayne Goss number 2, no, this is the Wayne Goss number 9, unofficial number 9 holiday / Christmas brush. And you can see how finely tapered that is. It's beautiful, soft. These are natural bristles, whereas these would be synthetic. Beautiful. It does have a much finer taper to it. It's easy to see that. This is held up. I've spot cleansed and deep cleansed this like a mad woman because I've used this in my kit on other people, on myself. Beautiful, beautiful brush. This one I reached for, but it's much, much, much more expensive in comparison to this. But you gotta bear in mind, this is what do you call it? Natural, well constructed brush, but pretty much the same sort of size. So if you're thinking of traveling, they're pretty similar, but it's just this can be annoying if you just don't have the brush roll to fit it in. But like if you've got the containers, or you just throw it in a cosmetic case, it shouldn't matter. But at least you can stand it up on the countertop. Like sometimes you don't have that space to have your brush roll rolled out. You can at least stand it up. So it's one reason why I like those brushes as well. Another one I love is the contour brush. Beautiful, staying all soft. I haven't had any problems with these bristles like bleeding when I deep cleanse them, or really falling out. It's really only sort of this one, the odd few here and there, but really no more than I get with some of my high end to some of my lower end brushes like e.l.f. But yeah, it's good. Obviously it says contour, so you can contour, you can use it, because it's synthetic, you can use it on cream, obviously liquids, and also powder. I generally find I get a better application because they're synthetic on creams and liquids and mousse products. But beautiful. I mean, it depends. Again, like I can even use it if I'm setting powder under the eye area, if I'm buffing out, you know, contouring around the nose. You can use it for so many different things. It's not just for the contour, so you're not locked into whatever it says it is. But obviously on the website, the Real Techniques website, they do have little demos on each little brush, which is great, just like Rae Morris does. So I like that. But it's a beautiful all-round little brush. If you're just looking for one that you want to sort of do for highlighting, for like cream, liquid, powder, what have you, washes up well. It does have, on my one, it's a more rounded edge, and it kind of stands, but it does fall over because it's not flat. So that's really not a hassle. But you can generally fit this into most brush rolls if you're worried about that. But again, you know, just a case or something. Similar brushes that I have, I do have the Hakuhodo and the Wayne Goss number 2. But these are much more finely tapered, and these are natural bristles. where is that one? And these are great for powder, again for highlighting. I pretty much would use them for everything that I do. This one, except this one's a little bit more versatile, I find, because they're a little bit stiffer and you know, pretty much as dense. I can use this more for your cream, contouring, even blush. It really does depend on sort of how well you want to sort of buff it in, or how large your face is. Mine is quite a large surface area. I keep going on about that, but it does make a difference. On some clients, I've actually had like little tiny sort of gaps, like low hairline, or they're very, very delicate faces, and I find smaller brushes are great to work with as compared to something like this, where they would probably feel like they're being suffocated or attacked. So it does actually make a difference to other people anyway. So there's those ones, similar, but like I said, synthetic, natural bristles. And I also have probably my most favourite one out of the smaller tapered ones is my Rae Morris #1 Deluxe Kabuki. It's very similar, it's held its shape well, and this is actually much finer tapered. It is much finer tapered. These are more rounded, as you can see. And then you've got this one. This is just like, whee! But like I said, you can get so many uses out of it, and you can obviously just, if you want to turn it into a point brush, you can do that as well with your hand. Again, I've got a Sigma 1 similar. It's probably the most similar to it because it's more splayed out over time. It's not as finely tapered. But travel-wise, I'd probably go for the Real Technique one. You can see this one's a little bit longer. Yeah, it just depends what sort of price you're going sort of for. Other little face brushes. What is this? Setting brush. This is the setting brush, and it's that little pink one. It is cute. They are quite cute if you're sort of into those sort of colours and that. They're nice. It's always good to have something that you like to use and like to look at as well. And there's so many different uses. This again, the odd brush every now and again I find has a, you know, it's not as finely cut. You could just sort of fix it up yourself. Sorry about my nails. But this one hasn't kept its shape quite as well. Sometimes I can be a little bit rough with my brushes because I've got so many to wash sometimes. But yeah, it's was a little bit more of a gentle taper on this one. It's just a bit splayed out to the side over time. And generally I keep them in rolls and stuff like that, so they can get a little bit distorted. But this is good, you know, setting powder wherever, around your eye, under your eye, around your nose, if you're setting contour, if you're setting, oh yeah, but if you're setting concealer, highlighter, you know, corrector, you can use it for that. But like I said, you can use this one as well, depending on maybe what you want to achieve or how large your surface area is. But this one's quite good. It's really good to get around the fine areas. Maybe you have a lot of, you went a bit crazy with your bronzer or your contouring, and you want to sort of gently buff it out. You can use this brush as well. So that, again, it has many uses. If you've got a large sort of eye area, you can also use this to buff around. They're not too stiff. Even though they're synthetic, they're not sort of stiff brushes. So you can use it to do that if you just want to blend it out. What else? Pretty, or even around here. If you've done your contour and you're like, whoa, buff, buff, buff. You know, a little bit of highlighter around your décolletage. You know, anything. The next one, which is very simple, it's so similar because it's the same. Sorry, this is my one. That's why it was a bit. My one's the distorted one. The nice one, or nicer one, is the one that I keep, or the newer one that I keep in my kit. I've got my kit open there, so there's that one. And they do, I forget to say, some of them do have where they've got that, you know, sort of squashed edge to it. They have sort of been clipped. You can sort of see it there in the ferrule. But yeah, pretty good. If you can get them cheap enough, depending where you get them, or if you're getting them somewhere where you can get points in that, it's a good little brush to pick up. You can use it for so many different things. I don't know how loud you can hear that in the background. Sorry, it looks really bad, but I normally, if someone comes over and if they do like a little bit of sparkling, because I have my other channel, Sparkling in a Coupe, I offer them a little bit of that as well. So I've got to try it out first. Next thing is the buffing brush. I love this one. And it's one of those ones, it's like a round little brush. There are lots of different, lots of similar brushes and different lines that I could go on about. I don't really have anything comparable to this because I was thinking, oh look, I've got, you know, stippling brushes, I've got other powder brushes, aren't the same sort of shape, but you know, I could achieve the same sort of thing with it, which is, you know, buffing around. Well, what I've found is it was sort of sitting in my tower, not sort of being used, but then when I got my kit and I'm practicing other people with less surface area, as I'm going on about, this has been great. It's been great for buffing in cream, like if you're doing that, you know, that accentuated cream contouring and then you're doing the powder over that top, you can sort of get that cream really buffed in nicely. Or if you're highlighting, you can use it as well on sort of liquids, like if you've got maybe strobe cream or something and you want to do that as a highlight underneath to get that natural you know, that radiance coming through, so it looks like it's natural and not sort of stuck on top of the foundation or powder. So you can sort of, you know, buff that in really nicely. Again, great for contouring. They're nice and soft that you can sort of get work around the face as well. So you're not locked into just a buffing brush. You can use it as a powder brush if it's dense enough. If you maybe just want to use it as a setting brush as well. But look, they are a little bit spikier in comparison. If you're used to using soft, natural bristles, you will feel the difference, but it's very, very minimal. If you take care of these brushes, it's going to be very minimal, but you can sort of do lots of different things with that one. The next one, which is very similar, is the Expert Face Brush. Why I say that is because if you sort of crimp this a little bit and just got it in a little bit tighter, you could achieve this sort of brush. And I've got two. That's how much I like this one. This is what I say, Expert Face. I've got one for myself and one for the kid. Again, why I've got this one as opposed to this. This is again good for sort of getting around different areas depending on the face shape. I find it great for cream contour as well, as you can sort of tell from the shape. It's great to hold, it glides around. Same thing too, if you're maybe stuck for brushes, you can still use it as a setting. You just use it very lightly around sort of the eye area. Again, it depends on, you know, what you've got to work with all around. Even sort of concealer and corrector, if you want to buff it around, you can use the buffing brush or the Expert Face Brush. You can even use this for, which I think is what they promote it for, liquid foundation as well, sort of work it around. Same with this one, because they're the same bristles. It's just sort of how they've been put in the ferrule and how they've been cut or tapered on that one. But yeah, so you can pretty much use them for the same thing. It really just depends on, you know, how you sort of want to get it around the face and sort of how smoothly as well. But pretty much you can achieve the same thing with the buffing and the Expert. I just like the look of it. I like the feel of it. And I do like, it just feels like, because you've got that smoother rounded edge, you can sort of get around and sort of buff, you know, foundation in and around, you know, more condensed around here and gradually work it out. Same thing you can do with this as well because of that nice edge to it. Some people I've seen compare either of these brushes, the Expert Face or the buffing brush, to this one. This is the Sculpting Face Brush 2. I think that's what it's called, by Marc Anthony. Oh gosh, I'm going back to Marc Jacobs. There, it's a gorgeous brush. I can kind of see why they would do that. It's kind of like if the Expert Face Brush and the buffing brush merged together. You know, honestly, this is much softer. This is like a cloud on the face, and you can sort of see from the angle. It's great for cream, for, you know, foundation. I use it for mainly for foundation, but also you can use it for cream and liquid, blush, bronzer, highlighter, your skin prep. This brush. But I mean, really, that's where the similarity ends. I mean, because the shapes are different. You can see this one's just, you know, you're rounded, tapered. It's clipped, rounded. This one, you can see sort of why people would compare them. I can understand. But this is pretty much, if you merge these two together, you'd get the same surface areas. This is just a larger surface area. It's a greater angle. It's softer, but it's much more expensive. I mean, pretty much the two of these, or the three, would get this brush that I've gotten. But I love this brush. This is my brush. I don't use it in the kit. Yes. I think I'll do a couple more and then I will split it. The next one that I was using a lot originally is this one. This is actually it's worn off. I don't know what it is. Oh my goodness, I'll put the name down here. That's like, it's old. It was sort of around the time I got this one. As you can see, it's just a small duro fiber style one. You know, it's got the longer and the shorter, the two-tone stippling brush. It's a small one, as you can see, and it's also quite short sometimes. So this one, as you can see, I mean, this is another one I use a lot. This is another duro fiber this is another stippling brush is my number 23 liquid foundation by Rae Morris. I love this. This is my one. But it's that sort of similar style. This one's much finer cut, like the difference between it is much difference. This one's quite tight, as you can see, and I've used this for mainly liquid foundation just to apply, and even mousse foundation. The similar one, and that I've kind of replaced it with, is this one. This is the bdellium brush number 953. I have a couple of different ones. This is the pink range. They've got a green one, which are their bamboo range. But you can sort of see it's very similar, but I find this is a little bit softer, washes much easier for some reason, and I don't know why. I cleanse this the same way I cleanse all of my brushes, deep cleanse it, spot cleanse it. I've tried every way to actually cleanse this with oil, Sard soap, shampoos, brush cleansers, etc., paraffin liquid, and always I get something stuck in here. It sort of gets ingrained. The liquid sort of stains it for some reason. I don't know why. This has been fine, but I don't know, it just hasn't sort of stood up to the test of time in comparison to some of the ones that are just as old, or ones that get used just as much, like my bdellium one. And it's sort of warped a little bit in there, but it's been fine. I've had a little bit of a fallout from this, but it's generally one that I like to use, you know, sort of buff in my liquid or my cream foundation. Maybe I've done some concealing and want to gently buff around there, around my eye area, or even on some people that have smaller surface areas than me, or they're much more finely boned than me. This would be good, whereas I would use this on myself, and I might use this on them. To get around all those angles and areas where I'm fine with this one. Some people generally just aren't. So yeah, that's that one. And I think one more before is the foundation brush. I mean, this is like your standard foundation brush. This is just one I had at the college that I went to. You can see it's sort of the same sort of size, but this has that sort of gentle taper, and this is still, you know, it's got that rounder edge, or that flattened edge. Flattened edge. Closest one I have to this is one that I sort of use more for fine details and edging and cream contouring and highlighting, as well as body art you can use it for. This is the Royal Langnickel from their Silk Pro range, the Angle Foundation C240. You can see why I compared them, but really it's only the angle and the fact that they're foundation brushes, and they have that sort of stiffer, sleeker bristles. But this has that sort of harsher sort of edge where it's much more straighter. It's got, what do you call it? It's larger. But this one you can see that it's got a, I just love the edge on this. It's a nice rounded edge or angle. As you can see, this is much more defined. And again, like I said, for the other one, same thing. This is great if you want to do some cream contouring, highlighting, you know, blending foundation around and sort of getting in the angles. But really, I'm not a big fan of these sorts of flat foundation brushes. It really does depend on what you're using, liquid, you know, if you're going for cream foundation or stick foundation, it really depends on what the consistency is like, that I might switch up. This one in general I don't reach too often. I do keep it in the kit for, you know, sort of just, you know, really blending in around sort of areas. I wouldn't generally use it on someone that has a much more texture to the face, because it is a little bit, it doesn't scrape the skin, but it's a little bit, like I said, like most of the other foundation brushes I have, they're a little bit harder, a little bit sleeker at the same time. So I just find it's easier to work with some of my more softer brushes, depending on the type of skin. If they've got maybe a lot of breakout around the face or sensitivity, I may not use this one. It really does depend on what I'm applying it to, and who and how and that. Okay, I think I'll cut it there because I've yapped on so much. Yeah. Then the next one I'll go on to I think it's a limited edition set, and the sponge, kabuki brush, and some of the smaller face and eye brushes, but I'll link them all down below so you know if you want to watch them. I hope you do. Anyway, take care.